such an honor and privilege to be in your presence, to have access to you, God, to be able to speak to you, to know that you hear our prayers this morning, and you're ready to respond, you're ready to act as a father that's ready to listen to the needs of his children, ready to respond, ready to act upon the designs that they have because of the love of the Father, not the love of the children, the love that the Father has for his children. Thank you, Father, this morning. I know that you are ready to respond to us, ready to respond to every need and every desire that we have. But apart from that, you love us and you've given us eternal life. Life in abundance, a life that will never end, it will never stop. Thank you for that in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. I want to pick up where I left off last night. Again, if it's possible, I want you to try to get every teaching when it's available and listen to it as a series. If you can, it's December. I know how many of you will have all for vacation, but put a day out and listen to that entire, all those 4 or 5 sermons as one series, and you'll see how it will go one thing the other thing. And this morning, what I'm sharing with you is based on the principles of what has been shared. We're building a table, and Wednesday night was was definitely Puerta and Donderdag, Vrijdag, and so we continue. And this morning we're ending with the top, the table itself. But it will not stand without those pillars. Those principles are very important. You can try to apply the things that I'm going to share with you this morning, but if you don't understand the pillars, it won't have a result, it won't mean anything. You're sitting in a building this morning, it's a beautiful building, and there's walls and the roof and there's colors, but without this foundation, this building will not stand. We need the foundation. It's not important to us, or it's not nice, or it doesn't have beautiful colors, but it is the structure, it's the cement that keeps this building up that we're sitting into, and it's what makes it possible. So I want to encourage you to get those teachings. It will help you to understand really the things that I'm sharing this morning. This morning's message is very simple, and it's so simple that you're going to miss it. It's something that's so easy and it's so simple, and because it's so easy and so simple, people don't do it. And I want to, I'll make you a promise this morning. If you apply the 4 things I'm going to share with you this morning, within a period of 6 months, your life will completely transform. Completely transform. Don't do it just one day or a week and stop. Just continue and get up every morning and pursue this. It's not a law that you have to do it every day or every week. I don't want to give you a law this morning. I want to give you something that's a tool that when you use it, there will be a result. Like the thing that I shared last night about spiritual principles, this is the principles. And every time when you apply it, it will have a result. Not just those times when you have faith. It's a spiritual principle that's been set there, and it will happen. Every time when you touch it and you use it, it will have that result. It's built in, nothing can change it. I want you to read with me. We'll pick up where we started or ended last night. Romans chapter 12 verse 2 starts and says, "Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you'll be able to test and approve what God's will is, His good, pleasing, and perfect will." So it is impossible for us to understand the will of God for our lives if our minds is not renewed. Only after our minds is renewed, we can understand God's purpose and plan. It says, "Therefore do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind. Then you'll be able to test and approve what God's will is." So it's only after our minds is transformed that we understand God's purpose and plan. If God brings His purpose and plan on a skillboard, it's called say plan of a skillboard for open growth, you won't understand it without a renewed mind. You look at that plan and it's from six areas. You won't understand the meaning of it. There's no understanding of it. So only when your mind is renewed, you understand the plan. Now, I want to share something very important with you this morning. Our spirit is already renewed. Okay. There's a little bit of a bonus here. It's just a little bit of good news. Because people often think when we talk about renewed mind, and then you think, oh well, it's going to take a while to get there, and I need to make all these changes in my life, and this is going to be a long process. The good news is that your spirit is already renewed. Your spirit doesn't have to go through a renewed process. The moment when you accept Christ in your life, your spirit is renewed. The renewed spirit is within you right now, this moment. So the spirit inside you understands God's plan and purpose better than your mind does. Okay? Therefore, your spirit or heart is going to places where your mind cannot go right now. You're standing in church or in God's presence, and God, we use a phrase where we say God drops something in your spirit. You start with the word from here, you start in dienst, and you have far eats, and suddenly you get a revelation of something. Your spirit has that revelation, but your mind doesn't. So right now, your heart is going to places where your mind can't go to. Your heart is saying, your spirit is saying, yes, 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 but as soon as you leave this building this morning, your mind is going to say no. You stand in God's presence, and God's saying, listen, I want you to sow $1 million. And your spirit says, yes, I can't wait to do it. I know it's the right thing. But when you leave here and your mind looks at the bank account, your mind says, it's impossible. It can't be done. But your spirit just responds and says, yes, I know what I need to do. I know what God's planned. I know what the next step is. Now, I want to give you a key this morning. I want to say to you, your spirit always knows what is the next step. Your spirit doesn't have to pray. Your spirit doesn't have to pray and meditate and intercede and wonder. Your spirit always knows what is the next step because it's renewed. That's why he says, don't lean on your own understanding. And Jesus comes and he says that we are led by the Spirit. He says those that are children of God are led by the Spirit. We have to learn to rely on our spirits. Why? Because it's renewed. Your mind says, no, I don't understand this. This doesn't make sense. This cannot be the right thing. You know, when they prepared for this conference, the Spirit said, expand. The mind said, obstacles. The Spirit said, let's do this. We need to get moving. The mind said, limitation. The Spirit said, come on, let's get moving. The mind said, no. Look at the finances. The Spirit never mentioned any of those things. But the mind mentioned. So we have a plus this morning that our spirit already renewed. What I want to do this morning is I want to try to encourage you to lean on the Spirit. Respond to what the Spirit is saying. Very important not to respond to what a person is saying. We are not led by a person, we're led by the Spirit. So we are all, the Spirit of God is leading all of us in different journeys in our lives. So the challenge that we have in church right now is we have someone that has a renewed mind, and they're sharing a principle that's applicable to their lives, but not to other people's lives. Are you with me? So I said to you this morning, well, in this season of my life, I'm in a reaping season. Now I'm saying to everyone, listen, it is time to reap. But the majority are in a different season. They are in a sowing season. And they follow me, they do exactly the same thing, but they don't have the same results. That's why I want to encourage you not to listen to my voice, but to the voice of the Spirit. This is the amazing thing about the Holy Spirit is, in a sermon every Sunday, yes, the pastor can preach, but at the same moment, the Holy Spirit is busy preaching. He's busy leading you and speaking to you about what is important right now in your own life, where you are. So our minds need to be renewed, and I'm going to touch on a couple of things to help you to understand the renewed mind and the idea of how we think about things and how we look at things. I mentioned last night, if $1 million shows up in your bank account, you're going to say, where did this come from? And maybe someone made a mistake. But when someone like Donald Trump, when $1 million shows up in his account, he's going to say, where's the rest? So it's a different mindset, a different place where they're thinking of. So our minds needs to be renewed in this process where we expect abundance, where we know that we have access to that place. I want to share a scripture with you this morning. Before we go there, I want to touch on Hebrews chapter 5, verse 14. Hebrews 5, verse 14 says, "But solid food is for the mature, who by constant use, the things, the principles that I'm going to share with you this morning, it's not a quick fix. It is constant use. By constantly applying these principles, by constantly using it, you'll learn to see certain results. A farmer doesn't plant a seed, and then after a week, he says, well, there's no results, and he digs up the seed and takes it out. It's not working. No. By constantly using it, he keeps on. Even if a farmer has a bad harvest this year, he's still going to plant next year. He's not going to say, well, for the next 10 years, I'm not going to plant anything because this soil doesn't produce. No. He's going to keep on sowing and sowing and putting that seed in, putting that seed, put that seed in. I want to say to you spiritually, don't remove your seed from the ground. There's some things that you've started to apply in principles, and that seed is in the ground right now. Maybe you're not seeing any results right now. Just leave it there. Something is happening. Don't remove it. How do I remove it? I speak against it. That's how I remove it. That's how I remove that seed from the ground. I say, no, it's not working. No, they say this, but no, it can't be. I start to curse that ground. I start to curse that seed. I'm removing the same seed. Right? So just leave it there. Keep on speaking life over it. Something is happening to that seed. So, by constant use, the things that I'm sharing with you this morning, it's not a quick fix, it's a lifestyle. It's not something that we're just doing on this conference. It's a lifestyle that we're walking in. And through this lifestyle, we're starting to constantly walk in victory. We walk in abundance. If it's not a lifestyle, you're going to live from breakthrough to breakthrough to breakthrough, from miracle to miracle to miracle. That's what it's a poverty mindset. But if it becomes a lifestyle, you live in abundance. You live in overflow. There's always more than enough. Constantly. You're accessing something that it's a constant flow. There's no stop of it. You could always access, 24 hours a day, you could access to that place. So I want to touch on something to renew your mind. The book of Job, chapter 42, verse 15. En jullie water drink, staan het al 3 weke hierso of? Okay, so Bethlehem water, it's quite. We just moved, we moved to Mossel Bay 3 years ago. I'm still not used to the water. It still tastes like something wrong with it. But anyway. Job 42 verse 15, he starts and says, nowhere in all the land where they found women as beautiful as Job's daughters. And their father granted them inheritance along with their brothers. And after this, Job lived 140 years, and saw his children and their children to the 4th generation. And so Job died, an old man, full of years. I want to focus on something here where it says, and their father granted them an inheritance along with their brothers. And after this, Job lived 140 years. So, we find something here where our minds need to be renewed. I'll try to explain to you. If we have 2 boys right now at this moment, if I bring a South African boy into this room, and I bring a Jewish boy into this room, they're going to have a different understanding of inheritance. The reason for that is, in the Jewish culture, they receive their inheritance in the beginning of their lives, not at the end. Different understanding, different mindset. In the South African culture, you receive your inheritance at the end of your life. That is, if you get one. The majority of people don't inherit something good, they inherit debt. That's why there's a lot of young people praying that their parents don't die. Lord, please give them a life. Why? So their mindset is, it's not something positive. Number one. And to tell you the truth, so in other instances is where when they receive their inheritance, they will receive it, but they will give it to the bank. They will pay off their own debt, or a portion of debt with that inheritance. So inheritance, the perception idea that if I say inheritance, it's not something that you really get excited about. When I say inheritance to the Jewish boy, it jumps to the roof. Because his understanding of it is completely different. Now, it's very important because Jesus comes and after the cross, he speaks about that he is our inheritance. So now, a Jewish boy gets saved and he hears this message that Jesus is my inheritance. And to him, there is something that he can apply right now, at this moment, and benefit from. But to a Christian, there's something, okay, so Jesus is my inheritance. Well, I still have to wait another 30 years for that. It's something that we think will come at the end of our lives. A Christian child can't wait and looks forward to abundance in heaven one day. A Jewish boy lives in abundance now and then. Complete different mindset, there's different data. That's why I'm saying when it comes to our renewed mind, we talk about things that needs to happen now. Not tomorrow, not next year. something we have access now. You know, the blessings that you are praying for right now, the breakthrough that you need right now, was released 2,000 years ago. I want you to understand this morning that your prayer has been answered 2,000 years ago. There's one thing that happened on the cross. On the cross, everything was settled. Everything. So it's already done, it's already settled. But we have in religion, that we've been growing up in, South African religion, we've grown up and people introduced us to a no God. Not allowed to do this, don't do this, no, 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 no. And the Jewish generation have been introduced to a yes God. God said, that says yes, go for it. Yes, yes, yes. Yes, you can do it. Yes. Now we're asking God something, and in a moment while we're asking Him, we already made up in our hearts He's going to say no. Telling you the truth. Now, as a boy, I wanted to visit my friend, but I knew before I'm going to ask my dad, he's going to say no. So I asked him, but in my heart I already knew what the response was going to be. I already expected no. No, it's going to be no. So I lived that, and that one instance there went over to everything else in my life. That's why I'm saying that you are expecting a no God. You're expecting a no answer. And that's why I'm here today to renew your mind, to say to you that every answer that you're going to receive from God is going to be yes. We serve a yes God. It doesn't say no. It's yes. Go for it. God is encouraging you to start a new business. He's encouraging you to pursue things. He's encouraging, God wants us to take over. Doesn't want us, just to be a speck just in the corner somewhere. He wants us to live in abundance. Why? So that when people look at you, they glorify Him. They say, surely God is with them. That's what God's plan is. So I want you to understand this morning, renew your mind, and I want you to write somewhere that I serve a yes God. And I want you to have that expectation when you go to God again, that His response is going to be yes. It changes everything. It changes your stature, your position. If I need 100,000 and I know that Ruan is going to give it to me, and I approach him in a different way. Because there's a boldness inside me, and I'm excited because I know it's going to be released. It's going to be done. I'm not in a state of pleading, in a state of guilt, in a state I have boldness to approach Him because I know that He wants the best for me. Now, I look at my son today. He's 3.5 years old now. I look at his life and I'm trying to find a place to bless him. So when my son plays during the day, I look at him and I'm looking for an opportunity to promote him. He can do 9 things wrong, but if he does that one thing right, I call him and say, hey, I'm going to bless you. If an earthly father looks at his son that way, how does the God Father look at us? I want you to change your mind, because your mindset is saying that God is waiting for me to fail. That's not true. God is waiting for you. You can do 100 things wrong in your life, and then you do that one right thing and God promotes you. That one thing. It's not even a big thing. There are far worse things wrong than that, and you do this one simple thing right, and then God suddenly promotes you. I want you to know this morning that there's a Father that's looking at you. And He's trying to find a place to bless you. He's looking for the smallest thing that you can do right, so He can promote you, so He can bless you. It's not a Father that's looking and waiting to curse you, waiting for you to make a mistake, waiting for you to mess up. He's trying to find a place. Say, well, okay, you've done this right, I'm going to bless you. That's His intention. Okay? Amen. So I want to give you these 4 principles. You're going to read through it. And I want to explain to you something that in our minds, we have different states in our minds. Okay? We have 3 states. You are in the first state in your mind where you are unaware that you're unaware. Okay? Then there's a second state of your mind where you become aware that you're unaware. And then there's the renewal state where you are aware that you're aware. Okay? So I went to America and I arrived at the airport and I rented a car and I got in the car and I drove and I couldn't get out of the parking of the airport because it was at the wrong side of the road. Kon nie die kar nie verkeer met ry, dis te moeilik. Ek kon nie ry. Why? Because I've been driving in a state for 10 years that I was unaware that I'm unaware. I'm not thinking what I'm doing. I'm getting in a car and driving. I'm not focusing on that. I don't have to think about it. But suddenly, I get into that car in the same state of mind, and I can't do it. Because something has changed. So suddenly, when I couldn't get out of the parking, I became aware that I was unaware. I realized I'm going to have to focus on this to get this right. And then I became aware that I'm aware. So suddenly I drove and it became easy and I could do it. Now I've developed that state. I can get into a different nation, get into a car and drive. I don't have to think about it. I've developed that skill. But when I drove out, suddenly I rented a Silverado, with a Baku, they call it a truck. It is a Silverado truck. So I drove out with it out of the airport and suddenly I started to enjoy the driving experience. Even though I was driving for 10 years, suddenly I enjoyed the joy of the entire experience again. Why? Because I was aware. I was aware of what was happening, the vehicle, the feel of it, it's not, I've driven a lot better vehicles than that in South Africa. But suddenly, just because I was aware of it, I enjoyed the experience. It became alive to me. Now the principle that I want to share with you this morning is you are in your mind in a state that you're unaware that you're unaware. And as I'm sharing these things with you this morning, I'm awakening something. Suddenly, you realize now, wow, so I'm unaware that I was aware. I'm aware that I was unaware. You're realizing something. But now, as you start to apply these principles, you go into a state that you're aware that you're aware. So what's happening now? Suddenly, you're seeing things that's always been there, but you haven't noticed it. You try to explain it to you. You can see 100 miracles every day in your life or nothing. Those miracles are around you. God is moving around you. It's amazing as a new believer, when you dedicate your life to God and suddenly you leave church and you're so excited because you just see everything that's happening. And God's provision and God's blessings and it's so amazing and that. But then you start to grow into that state of unawareness. Same God, same salvation, same life. But now you've been a Christian for 20 years and you're going into that state you're unaware. And you're seeing those same miracles that was there on the first moment that you were born again. So for us to see that, we have to create awareness. Our minds need to be real. Our spirits can pick up God. Our spirit's sensitive, can pick up the voice of God, can pick up the move of God. Our minds can. We're not aware. I'm not focused. It's impossible to focus on 100 things at the same time. Something, you're going to neglect something. So in our minds, we have to create awareness of that. Why do we worship on Sundays? Creates awareness. We're saying, okay, we're going to worship God now. So immediately your mind goes into a different state about, okay, this moment is for God. This moment, nothing to do with me. Suddenly your mind forgets about all other things, your phone, that this is, my focus is God. But the same awareness that you have in worship is the awareness that I want you to live in 24 hours a day. To walk out of this building and walk and leave with the building. As you walk into your normal life, have awareness of what God is doing, of where God is and what is His plan, what is His purpose, and we are continually. The Bible doesn't say that those that are children of God are led by the Holy Spirit on Sundays. We live by the Holy Spirit every day of our lives. Everywhere we go. What did we do last time? Everything that we do, the Holy Spirit is there. We can recognize Him or not. Now this is a very important principle. God is everywhere. The Holy Spirit is everywhere. He's omnipresent. But God does not manifest Himself everywhere. Even though He's everywhere, He doesn't manifest Himself everywhere. He manifests Himself where He's celebrated. If I have a coffee with Ruan and we sit in a restaurant and I don't acknowledge him. I act as if he's not there. I drink coffee and he's trying to communicate with me, but I deny him the whole time. I won't get anything out of that conversation. But when I recognize him, and I recognize him I walk into a restaurant and I look for him. I see, okay, there he is now. I recognize him. It changes everything in that moment. Suddenly, I'm able to draw and receive from him because I recognize him. If I didn't recognize him, I wasn't able to receive from him. I couldn't draw from him. When you start to recognize God in your finances, you'll draw from him. If you recognize God in your life, in your relationship, in where you are, in your home, suddenly you'll be able to draw from that place. It's always been there, but you haven't acknowledged it, you haven't recognized it. You're not aware that it's there, that you have access to that place. Okay? Well, I'm going to give you these 4 principles that Jesus shared. I'm going to run through them. So Jesus came from a different place and he had a different mindset. But he still came to portray this on earth. He lived here, applied his principles here, so that we can speak about him today and say it's possible here. If he only did it in heaven, we could say no, it's different in heaven. But he came and he lived a life here among us, and he applied these principles not there, here. He lived by them. It's a complete different way of thinking constantly. This is what I want you to understand, what you have access to. Because Jesus had something, or had access to something that people didn't understand. The disciples didn't understand that. He does miracles, one after the other, and then he gets to a place where he feeds the 5,000, and he feeds them, and he says to the disciples, he says, there's 5,000 people here, what are we going to give them to eat? The scripture after that said, he didn't ask them because he didn't know. He asked them because he wanted to see what their response would be. So they are in a state where they see miracles, they see abundance, they see breakthroughs, they see the impossible happen. And now he's looking at them and he's showing them this obstacle that they have in their mind. He doesn't have this obstacle, he knows exactly what's about that. So he's saying to them, what are we going to do about the situation? And their best response is, it's impossible. So it means that they're drawing from a place where it's impossible. Their thought process, their place, they have to answer a question. What happens with your mind, if I ask you a question, in a split second, your mind goes and it gathers all the information that you have concerning that subject, and then you give a response. It's not necessarily the truth, it's every experience that you have. So, from the moment that you were born, every challenge that you have, every obstacle, everything it draws from that place. So if I ask you, what are we going to do about this situation? Immediately your mind goes and say, well, I tried it when I was 5 years old and it didn't happen, and 10, and you respond in a split second, you say, it can be done. So you're drawing from that place, in a split second. So the same thing with the disciples. Their mind goes and draws from a place where it's, even though they've just seen miracles, they've seen it happen. It's not just, I think this is not the first place where they paid 5,000. It happened already. But their minds immediately still goes to that place, that cycle, that way of thinking. The response from there, and it says, it can be done. Wrong answer. And what I'm sharing with you this morning is I want you to respond from a different place. I want you to respond from a place, Jesus draws from a place where it's possible. Not where there's a mound or a mathematical equation or something. He draws from a tank, from a place that says possible. There's no limitation there. Just possible. It can be done. It can be done. There's no limit. There's no number. There's no set. It's just, can this be done? Yes, it can be done. It can be done. So I want to share 4 principles with you this morning. We're going to run through it. These are the principles that Jesus lived. He applied everywhere in his life. The first principle that Jesus applied is in John chapter 10, verse 30. The principle is, I and the Father are one. He lived in that state, made decisions in that state. Every time when he prayed, he didn't pray to get to the Father, he prayed from the Father. It's a different mindset, different place. We take hours to pray just to get to the Father so that we can ask Him what we want to ask Him. If you pray from that place, you can cut an hour of your prayer. He prays from that place. And it's a principle that he applies, and he says, I am the Father of one. Not separate. I don't have to access a place so that I'm in that place. I am the Father of one. Where I am, the Father is. I am the Father of one. It's a principle that he applied. His mind was renewed in that area. He didn't pray from a place of lack. And after the cross, we don't pray to the cross or to get to that place. We pray from the cross. Before the cross, the authority was taken, and the enemy had it, but after the cross, it's been restored. So we pray from a place of release. We make decisions from that place. So our mind is saying there's a limitation in my life, there's a crisis, there's a need. That's what my mind says. But my spirit, I know that I'm already overcame the place. I'm praying from that place, from the breakthrough. We live different mindset. The second principle that Jesus applied is in the book of John chapter 16 verse 15. And it says, whatever belongs to the Father belongs to me. It's a different way of thinking. Whatever is the Father's is mine. I have access to everything that the Father has. Yet, I'm telling you, 90% of our prayers is to get access. I want you to realize this morning that you have access. And everything that belongs to the Father belongs to you. You have access to it. My father has a restaurant, a coffee shop, and I just have one older brother, and for years we had this coffee shop or restaurant, and my brother would go into this restaurant with his children, and they would take so many things out of this coffee shop, they wouldn't pay for it. They would just always enjoy themselves and waste, and I always had a problem with it. One day I called my dad, I said, Dad, we need to make a plan with my brother. We need to get rid of him or do something, because he is eating the harvest. Whatever this shop is supposed to produce, he's taking. He and his children. So we need to make a plan with him. He just comes in and enjoys everything, and I would go in and I would have a cup of coffee and I would end up paying for it. I wouldn't even leave with a cup of coffee. So for years it's been going on. And I've been complaining with my dad over and over and over and saying it's unfair, it's not right the way the way he's acting, what he's doing. And then my dad sat down with me and my dad said, Andre, don't you realize you have the same access that he has? As a father, it is not the problem is not with me if you're not enjoying the benefit. Now he's eating my harvest, his harvest, my father's harvest, I'm sitting and I'm removing certain blessings from my life, and I'm complaining, and there's bitterness in my heart because I'm saying, that's not the right thing to do. And the Father is saying, you have access. You have access. God is looking at our prayers and we praying and saying, God, would you please intervene in the situation? And the response of the Father every time is, don't you know it's been paid on the cross? You have access. Yes. Yes. It's paid on the cross. Yes. Yes. You have access. There's some benefits that we are excluding ourselves from. I cursed my brother. I had bitterness. I said all these things. But I actually did exactly the same thing he had access to. I could have, drawn from exactly the same well. The Father gave us access. It is not the Father's problem if one son refuses to drink. And one son says, no. In God's kingdom today, we all have access. Yet there's a group that's complaining about the group that's enjoying the benefits. saying, that's unfair. That's not right. And the Father is saying, it pleases me when you partake. You know, the Lord said to me 2 weeks ago, I was trying to figure out something, and the Lord said to me, He said, Andre, I am blessed when you are blessed. He said, it blesses me. It blesses me. I am blessed when you are blessed. Blessed. If you're carrying the blessing, it blesses me. It's a blessing to God when you walk in the blessing. I want you to walk. I want you to partake. The third principle that I want to share with you this morning is Exodus chapter 3 verse 5 and also Acts 7 verse 33, and that is, I'm standing on holy ground. But Jesus has these principles that He lives by. One of the principles is, I and the Father are one. And He meditates on this, and He renewed His mind on this before He prayed. He didn't get this revelation or get to this statement. When He prayed, He entered God's presence. He went to pray from this state. Before He prayed, He had realization that I and the Father are one. That's why I can ask. Whatever belongs to the Father belongs to me. The third thing is that I am standing on holy ground. I'm telling you, if you have the realization that you're standing on holy ground, and the ground is holy, not because it's holy ground, because you're standing there. You need to get understanding of that. It's not the ground, the soil. In Israel, when you go there, they sell you the soil now. They're trying to sell you the holy land, the holy ground. It's not the ground that's holy. It's because of your presence, because of the fact that you are there. If you have realization, when you walk into your office or business or place of work, and you have realization that this is becoming holy ground because I'm here, it changes everything. The entire atmosphere changes. So constantly, any challenge or anything that Jesus went through, He had the realization that I'm standing on holy ground. I'm standing on holy ground. Everything around me needs to respond to me. I don't need to respond to these situations. Because I'm standing on holy ground, it needs to respond to me. Last principle that I want to share with you this morning is the book of Matthew, chapter 26, verse 53. And that is that heaven is behind you. Jesus is waiting for them, and they come and arrest Him. And they arrest Him. Now I want you to understand that when they came to arrest Him, He had no fear. He wasn't running away or hiding, or He was waiting for them to come. No fear. And then they arrested Him. The disciples responded. One drew his sword and said, I'll fight you. And then Jesus responds. He says to his disciple, don't you know that I have access to 12 legions of angels right now? I'm not fearing. They think they can arrest me. But don't you know? So he has the revelation of what he has access to. So I want to go through these 4 principles again. He lives a life on earth every day with the realization, as he lives, that he and his Father are one. He and his Father are one. It changes everything in your life. If you go into any situation in your life with the realization that you and the Father are one, it changes everything. You know, it gives you peace to know that Jesus is in your boat. If I'm trying to run a business on my own, it's challenging. But when He's in it, it becomes easy. Because when I fail, we fail. If I go down, He goes down with me. And He can bring me up again. So He's with me in this situation. I want you to understand this morning that it's a lie from the enemy that God is not part of your life or situation right now. He's part of it. He is part of whatever you're doing right now. You're one with God. Now, why are we trying to separate that which He tried to make one? We are one with Him. In Acts, He says, because in Him we live and move and have our being. We're one with God. It's not my thoughts, His thoughts, my way, His ways, my life, His life, my ideas. It's one. I'm one with God. I'm one with God. When I do things today, I'm one with God. In everything that I do. I go to a store to buy something, we buy it. If I sign a document, we're signing that document. It's me, we sign, I'm one with Him in Spirit. Whatever I do, wherever I go, it's us, not just my thoughts. No, I'm not leaving God, I'm being one. I'm one with Him. And everything that I'm doing doesn't mean I'm not going to make mistakes. We make mistakes. But He's part of it. You see, if I make a mistake without Him, it's a disaster. It will destroy my life. But if He's part of that situation, He makes everything work for the good. Suddenly, even that mistake or that weakness turns out into a blessing. So Jesus walks with this realization. With the disciples, they have need, they have challenges, they have this mindset. He lives on earth and say constantly, I am the Father of one. Whatever the Father has access to, whatever belongs to the Father belongs to Him. There's not one place in the life of Jesus in a prayer where He's asking God for a financial breakthrough. Not one place. He has access. He knows that whatever belongs to the Father belongs to Him. You know, they come to Him at one stage and they say, listen, we need to pay tax, we need money. He says, well, it's easy. Go to the lake, catch a fish. The first fish you'll have a point in its mouth. So it's settled up. Why? Because He knows what He has access to. And the abundance or the access is not determining or, leading his life. He honors God. He walks with God. So the material things, it's just a material thing. It's just wherever it comes from, there's more of it. When we get a breakthrough financially, we cherish that breakthrough as if it's a once-in-a-lifetime experience. This is it. It never happens. No, not Jesus. We draw from a place where there's abundance. It's small there. There's no need. When they have to pay tax, you draw from it. When they have to feed the fight, you draw from it. Every time when there was a need, draw from that place. Abundance the whole time. Not just abundance in finances, but abundance in protection, in authority, in angels, there was a place that he had access to on earth. And we have access to the exact same place. Whatever belongs to the Father belongs to me. Now, if you have a prayer, do you think about the last prayer that you've had? You lost at Bethlehem. Think about the last prayer that you had. You take that prayer, you write it down, and you apply these 4 principles. You're going to erase that prayer. Because that entire prayer speaks from the opposite place where these principles speak from. The prayer says, God, I need your presence. Not I have your presence. The prayer is saying, if I could just, God, if you could just intervene into my situation, if you could just help me out of it, doesn't speak from a place where I am the Father of one. You have a realization that you're the Father of one, you don't need to pray that prayer. You're asking for something that you already have. Doesn't make sense. I'm telling you, we confuse God with our prayers. Really. We confuse heaven with our prayers. What are they praying? No? I think sometimes Jesus looks at God and says, what is happening? What are they not getting? Was the entire cross for nothing? The entire price that was paid? Don't they? But the reason is because we're still functioning from a poverty mentality. Still functioning from a place of need. We live a life of abundance. We have access to every spiritual blessing that there is. Everything. And that's why I made the statement yesterday, and I said to you that God does not determine the flow of money in and out of your life. God doesn't have a bracket for you. God doesn't look at your life and say, well, you are worth $1 million, and that's what you'll have access to. No. He released abundance in our lives. What gives you access to that abundance is not the law, doing the right things, but He's giving you access is the mindset of it. That I have access to it. Yes, let's release it. I'm sharing this with you because our prayers needs to change. Instead of praying for something, we need to release things. So instead of saying, well, you encountering someone, they say, well, I have a financial crisis at the moment. Instead of praying, saying, God, please, take that person, okay, come here, let me release it. Whatever whatever the obstacle is, I release it right now. I release the abundance in your life. What we're doing is we're just connecting them with the source. Just release it. We have to change that prayers. I pray a very simple prayer every morning. Very simple. I get up in the morning and I say, God, thank you for the cross. I receive today whatever you released upon the cross. I accept it. I receive it. And it took me a while to renew my mind because I didn't have understanding. But I had to accept it. I had to change my way of thinking to have access to it. So I had to say to myself, my spirit already had the revelation. It's already revealed, but my mind is not. My mind still said challenge, obstacle. So when I started in the morning to say, God, I accept whatever you released from the cross, things started to change. Because immediately when I left prayer, a challenge came up. But I remembered the release. Immediately, the situation, the negative report came up and said, well, you're in trouble here, you need to do that. But I remember that it was released. It's paid for. It's done. It's paid for. Don't exclude yourselves from the blessings. I did it for years. For years, I would get on a plane, and I would fly economy, and I would sit right in the back, and I would complain. Years I would sit there. And I would see all my pastor friends and people that I know, they're all flying business class and first class, and I would curse them, say, well, I don't know where they're getting that money, maybe they're stealing it somewhere, or they blah, 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 blah. Years, I didn't have understanding. And then one day, while I was sitting in economy, I said, Lord, this is unfair. This is not right. I'm blaming you, God. And God is saying, Andre, I see you there. That's where I see you. But until you can see yourself there, you won't be there. So something had to change, not in my finances, but in my mind. Because when my mind changed, my finances changed. It took me years to renew my mind that I could be there. Because for years my mind said, it's wasted, can't do it. I can do all these other things. My mind contradicted that for years. But then when my mind was renewed and I realized that God sees me there and He wants me to partake, and I said, okay, I'm going to take a step of faith. I'm going to trust God. I'm going to go for it. When my mind was renewed, the finances came. The finances came for my first business class ticket exactly 5 minutes after my mind was renewed. I renewed my mind, the guy told me immediately, he said, listen, I'm buying a ticket. 5 minutes after that. And I'm saying, God, thank you. Yes, it's been a little bit slow, but thank you. And please have done it. And God is saying, Andre, it could have happened 9 years ago already. I have to walk this journey with you. There's things that God has for you, and you're excluding yourself. God wants you to own land. But your mind says it's impossible. Can't be done. God is saying expand, buy more land. Expand your business, expand your life. And your mind says, no, we can't do that, we can't afford that. No. When your mind changes, the finances show up. Finances or kingdom wealth, not earthly money. Kingdom wealth can never deny vision. If there's vision, supply shows up. It attracts that. It comes to that source, to that situation. Now, God is giving us what we need. I want to share a principle with you. I'm going to end with that. It's not for everyone. I want you to experience kingdom wealth for a period in your life. Kingdom wealth. I want you to have access to it just for a period in your life. The Lord said to me, and I touched on it last night. The Lord said to me, I want you to experience kingdom wealth in your life. And God said to me, Andre, okay, what I want you to do is I want you to think of an amount, get an amount that you think you need. So immediately I came up with an amount. And God said, no. You know, abundance. You're not going to be happy with that. Let me tell you, you're not going to be happy. Something that you think that this will be really enough for you. No limitation. What will that amount be? So I doubled the amount that I thought of. Okay? To pay my house, to pay my car, to pay everything, and then living expenses, and I doubled that. Got that amount. And God said to me, okay, Andre, so what I want you to do is every cent that I supply beyond that amount belongs to my kingdom. Now I'm going to give you that amount. But everything beyond that, every cent beyond that, is not yours. It's my kingdom's money. So I want you to, that every cent, even if in this month you have 1 cent beyond that, I want you to give it to my kingdom. But if there's 100,000 beyond that as well in that month, it's also my kingdom's money. Is that sure? Because it was a good amount that I needed. Definitely. Sure. I'll do it. So I started to apply it. In the first month, it was 100,000 more than that in my account. I said, God, I don't really want to start this month. We can start next month. Okay? This has been a breakthrough month. This has been a very special month that only happens once. You know, I don't want to do it right now. And immediately I thought, Lord, come on. If I take this extra money, I could actually pay in 3 months in advance. I could pay certain accounts. Isn't that wisdom? And God said, no, I want you to learn to live from abundance. Because to live from that place of poverty where you think it's going to dry up someday. But I want you to live in abundance. So in the first month, I sowed everything beyond that. Beyond that amount that I said to God. Everything beyond that. And then the second month came, and that amount started to grow more and more and more and more and more. And then God said to me, I want to teach you to have access to kingdom wealth. But I need to trust you with that. That's not yours. That belongs to my church. It belongs to my kingdom. I will tell you what to do with that. You don't touch that. So I want to share a principle. I want to challenge you on an area of your life. And I want to ask you, not for everyone, if you want to do it, I want to ask you, for 3 months, live with kingdom wealth. Just for 3 months. Try it for 3 months, try it for 6 months, and see what God does. Go home, sit with your family, sit with your wife and husband, say, listen, what do we need? What will make us happy? What will make us happy? This is the amount that we just need to pay our bills and everything, okay? And then we need money to live. So our number is, and it'll be different. There's people that live with 10,000, people who live with 30, people who live with 100. Make that number up and say, this is what we need to be happy. This is what we need. Pay our bills and do everything. This is what we need. God, we're trusting you for this. And we make a promise to you that everything that you provide beyond this, we won't touch. And then see what happens. Test it. See what happens. I want to encourage you that when something extra comes in, don't touch it. It's not yours. It belongs to God. And you'll see what will happen when you become steward of kingdom wealth. Suddenly, God starts to entrust you with more and more and more. Why? Because your number has been made up. The problem with the majority of people is they don't have a number. If they have 500, they spend it. If they have 100,000, they spend it. There's not a number or place of fulfillment. It's not a place of discipline. They don't stop. The need just continues. Suddenly they have this need and that need and this. So decide them and make them now sit down and be realistic. Say, well, this is a good number. This is something that will really pay everything and will, don't cut yourself, don't make it, put a good number there. Because if that need is met there, it will make it easy not to touch the 100,000 or a million. But I'm telling you, when the million comes in, there's a lot of other thoughts, poverty minds that will come in and say, well, I could actually pay my house off with this money, and I can settle my car, and I could do this and then, don't touch it. Don't touch it. You'll grow into being a steward with kingdom finances. And when God sees He can trust you with that, you're becoming a vessel for His kingdom.
Amen.
Suddenly He can enlarge you and enlarge you and enlarge you and enlarge you, because He knows you're accountable with His kingdom wealth. This is the place where Jesus lived from. He never, yes, Judas, that I'm telling you, it was not Jesus' idea. Judas started to have a purse. He started to plan. He started to run the ministry. He started to, print billboards and hand out flyers, and Jesus was never focused on those things. He lived in, to continue with that, but he didn't live from that place. When Jesus had to make a ministry or a quality decision, he didn't call Judas and say, so what does our finances look like? Can we afford this trip? We need to take a boat. There's 12 of us. We need to go on a cruise. Can we afford this? No. He didn't ask him. He knew that the provision would be there. He knew what he had access to. He lived the life of abundance. He lived with abundance. He didn't store up. They ate every day. They enjoyed food. They had a great life. They didn't go through challenges and starve for 40 days and that. Thank God that Jesus didn't take them on a fast. No. He fed them. He fed them. They had more than enough they needed for that day, for that moment. And He taught them to live a place of abundance, what they have access to. You have access to a well. But you're going to have to make a decision which well you want to draw from. Where do you want to draw water from? This is what Jesus speaks about the woman of the well. He says, don't you know that I have water that you'll never thirst again. The place that you're drawing from is limited. There's expiry on it. I have a place that I have access to. And he's not trying to speak faith into her life. He speaks from a place that he has a revelation of, that he's drawing from, that he's living from, on earth. And he's saying to her, I have access to a place where you'll never thirst again. Never. And then he speaks about the Holy Spirit. Because the Holy Spirit is the one who gives us access to that place daily. He's the mediator, He's the channel that gives us access to that place. And therefore we have to make these decisions constantly. Will I be led by the Spirit or my mind? My mind says, no. My Spirit says, I've got to do this. I've got to do this. When kingdom wealth shows up, your Spirit says, this is what we need to do. I said, your mind says, well, if you do this and this and this, you would actually get interest on that and be a greater blessing to God's kingdom. And that's what your mind says. Your mind says it doesn't make sense. But your Spirit is saying, I'm drawing from a well. I want you to close your eyes and I want to pray with you. Father, I pray for every person that is here this morning. Lord, I pray that you would imprint these principles on their hearts and on their minds, Lord. Father, help us to have an understanding that we are one with you. That I am the Father of one. I am the Father of one. We are one with you. You are part of our lives. Wherever we go, you are. Father, I pray that you would imprint it upon our minds, Lord. That whatever belongs to the Father belongs to us. We have access to everything. Spiritually, materially, we have access to that place. Our minds as blocked, our minds as limitations there. Our minds, when we think about it, brings up bank statement and say, no, this is your net worth. Our net worth is not determined by what the bank says. It's determined by the cross. Father, I thank you that you will help us, Lord, to walk in this principle that wherever we are, we stand in holy ground. The ground becomes holy, the place becomes holy, our homes. As we walk back into our homes this afternoon, as we walk in, remind us that we're standing on holy ground. As people go back to their place of work on Monday morning, give them a realization that they're standing on holy ground. That the atmosphere is changing, the ground is changing because they walked into that place. And everything needs to respond to that. And lastly, Lord, I pray, Lord, that you would give us a realization that heaven is behind us. Whenever we try to achieve something or aim for something, we aim for it with the realization that we're going to win. We're not hoping to get the target. Before we release that arrow, we know heaven is behind us. We've got heaven's support. I pray that in Jesus' name.
Amen.
Amen. I want to ask you this morning, if you make a decision and you realize before that decision that heaven is behind you, what does it do? Something that gives you boldness to make bold decisions. Okay? You'll do anything. You'll build any building. Because heaven is behind you. I don't have to worry about my finances and how it's going to work. I can do that. Now, I can go for it. I don't have to stand back. I don't have to wait. I don't have to. I can move. I can go forward because heaven is supporting me. Heaven is behind me. You know, it changes everything when you're going into a negative situation. Jesus walks into a place of arrest with the thought that heaven is backing me up. It changes the entire situation. You know, if someone opposes you or comes up against you, and as they accuse you, and you're going into that conversation and you know that heaven is behind me, something makes them so small. When you get a negative report, a letter, a phone call, something negative that comes, and you respond to it with the idea that heaven is behind me, it's easy to respond. You say, let's go. You don't have to go with me, I'll come with you. I'll walk with you, it's okay. Let's go, I'm not going to be, let's go. You can cuff me, but cuffs can walk it out. Let's go. He's got a different place where he responds. He's not responding in fear and trembling and tears and no, he moves into that situation. He knows what he has access to. It changes everything. You know, when you're going in, when the bank calls you in and when there's a negative report about the situation, you know, you're going into bankruptcy and you have all these obstacles about what's about to happen and you're going into that situation with the idea, the mindset that heaven is behind me. They can bankrupt heaven. They think they can, but they can't. So it's actually gives you courage to go into that place because what they're trying to accuse you or take from you, the supply that's in heaven, cannot compare to that. It's nothing. Your mind say, well, your life is over, you worked 30 years for this and this is, that's what your mind says. But heaven is saying, I can replace it anytime. Anytime. You've got access to that. They can take one part from you, I'll give you 3 others. And that is the realization that Jesus lived by. They didn't take anything from him. Because he had the faith in where you're from. He wasn't upset or negative when they accused him, they said that they this. It's fine. God will replace it someone else. No one can stop the blessing. I can continue to draw from that place. I've got access constantly. I want to quickly share this principle. I really want you to get this. You know, the idea of this conference is we want to see you walk in victory. That's the reason. There's no other intention. Now, don't want to, the idea is not to receive something from you. The idea is to see you walk in victory. That's it. And that's God's plan on the earth. He wants to see all His children walk in abundance. Don't be discouraged. There's a lot of abundance out there. A lot more than you can carry. Don't worry. Don't be negative about someone else that's blessed. Wherever they're getting their blessings from, there's a lot more. Don't be discouraged. We want to see you walk in victory. We want to see you have access. And I really believe that this word is being released now, in this season, something on earth that has never been preached in the way that's being preached now. Suddenly all over the earth, it's like heaven is pushing people to have a realization or the manifestation of abundance in their lives. All over the world. All over the world. Let me tell you, in this year, I started in January. I started in Singapore, I went to Sri Lanka, I went to Czech Republic, Germany, Austria, then back to America for 8 weeks, and then Ghana, then here. And there's one problem all over the world, and that's small mindsets. In Germany, Switzerland, and America. Same thing in America. People in America are sitting in abundance, and they don't realize it. They're complaining about the end of the world and their president is the Antichrist. While I'm eating their fruits and enjoying, I'm going, what is that? Don't you see what you have access to? Don't you see the wealth that's here, the abundance that you have? You're complaining about, all over the world. The enemy is blinding the most wealthy people. Blinding them, and they have everything, but they have a poverty mindset. The only thing that you still think is to act like, can't be possible, it's going to end, it's not working. Yet, I look at their lives and they have nothing to complain about. They have abundance of everything, but at the end of their lives can't go on any longer. Okay? I want to quickly share this principle. I want you to get it. Years ago, I bought my wife a car. Bought a car, and this car had a key. In this key is something that was called comfort access, which made it possible for the person that's driving not to take the key out. You just have it on you, get to the car, open the car, get in, start it, and go. The key gave you access to the vehicle. Okay? It's called comfort access. Now everything has it. Even the other Bucky's has it in now. It's not something very limited now. It's normal. But so what happened is, my son was playing outside, and somehow he picked up the key, and he was running around the car, past the car. Every time when he went past the car, it opened up because of the key. Responded. And I was looking at this, and he realized it. So he started to enjoy this because this car is responding to him. He didn't have a realization of the key. He just looked at, somehow this car is responding to him the whole time. What's amazing to me is at no stage did the car look at him as a 3-year-old and say, where's your driver's license? That didn't ask him. The car didn't look at his age, his ability. It's impossible for him to drive that car at that age. The car didn't care. It responded to him because of what was on him. It responded. Okay? We go into a time, and this is what is happening when I talk about unaware and unaware. The entire awareness is shifting. There's something. I'm becoming aware that I am the father of one. I'm becoming aware that I have access to whatever belongs to the Father. It's like that key. So suddenly, without trying to apply it, I go to places and do things, and the earth responds. Not because of me, my ability or capacity or history, but because of what's in me. Because of what you carry. I want to say to you now, there's a time that is coming where the earth will respond to you.
Amen.
Wherever you go, things will respond to you. It wasn't his intention. He didn't intentionally go and try to do that. He responded. He only got realization after it responded. There's going to come a time in your life where you, best way to explain it is when you go for a job interview, as you go for that interview, on the way to that interview, 2 other doors opens. It's earth that's responding to you. You didn't think about other 2, or you didn't apply for that. You on your way there, something happens. Breakthrough, financial breakthrough. Just on your way to go there, and things respond. Not to you, but in you. Response to the Father, response to Christ, response to the Spirit, response to heaven, response to that's in you. I'm telling you, the enemy is trying with a last attack on humanity. The enemy is trying to keep us from knowing and realizing what is in us. Doesn't want you to know, doesn't want you to understand, doesn't want you to know what you're carrying, what's upon you, what's in you. Because if you have a realization of that, you're unstoppable. There's no limitation. There's no limitation. Amen. Amen. Yes, you should have been tired. We are excited to see you walking victory. That's it. That's what we're trusting God for, that we're praying for. That's why we're here. That's why we're doing this conference. We want to see abundance in your life. We want to see God's kingdom expand through your life. We're going to see you grow. We're going to see every spiritually, financially, every area of your life how we will expand. We're going to see the blessing of God's life. We'll give God glory. My mindset has changed. When someone is blessed today, I don't curse them. I glorify God. When someone tells me about a breakthrough that they received, I get excited because I know it's God. I'm excited when people have revelation, they're walking in things. I'm happy for them. That's how we advancing all over the world. God's expanding His kingdom. He's doing things all over. And I pray, I don't pray for it, I know it. I was here, and then a couple of months ago, and I came down, I could see the difference in the building, manifestation. Okay? And I know that when I see you again, it will be different.
Amen.
I know when I see you again, there will be transformation. There will be some fruit. Things will change. Things will happen in your life. There will be a transition. You will not look the same. You won't stay where you are. As this, for us to transform this building and to paint it and that, it's prophetic. It's a prophetic step to make changes, to do things. Bring in new colors and new things. It's prophetic. It's a sign of what God can do in your life. There's a sign. There's something that God wants you to walk in. Again, I want to remind you what I said last night. Promise cannot change. The promised land is the promise is connected to the land. The promise cannot change. We have to change. We have to walk into the promise. We have to act. There's some renewal that needs to take place to get there. Again, I'm saying, it doesn't mean 40 years. Don't let your mind come in now and say, well, this is awesome, well, for the next 30 years. No. Now, this month, this year, now, we're trusting God for that renewal now. No, God can do it in a second. It doesn't need, Jesus walks with those 2 guys into town, and they have this conversation about Him, and then when they get there, their eyes open. It's an instant. It's not a process. He opens their eyes and they see. And this is what happened on this conference. Your eyes open. For things that has been there before the conference, but you didn't realize it. You were unaware. Now there's awareness. Now things change. Let it change. Strip it away by constant use. By constant use. So when you go into things constantly, bring it to realization that I'm standing on holy ground. Heaven is behind me. Heaven is behind me. I don't have to get upset or negative about this phone call. Heaven is behind me. Heaven is behind me. You have to stand and say it 100 times in the mirror to do it. But get the realization that heaven is behind you. Heaven is behind you. It doesn't have to take your peace. It doesn't have to make you negative. Heaven is behind you. There's victory that's coming in that situation. Okay. Amen.